Welcome, dear students of 6th grade primary school. That's our weekly time for science, and today we will start our new unit of Unit 3. Today we will start Unit 3, which deal with atmosphere. And you know, atmosphere consists of many different gases, such as oxygen gas, that's our first lesson today, nitrogen gas, and carbon dioxide gas, which we will study in next episode, inshallah. Okay, so we have studied up till now 2 units, which are Unit 1, which deal with mass and weight. You have studied this unit, which deal only with one lesson, the difference between mass and weight, الكتلة والوزن. Also have studied Unit 2, which deal with 2 lessons about measuring temperature and heat conduction, or heat conduction and measuring temperature. Also we have studied the difference between each thermometer, the medical thermometer and the Celsius thermometer. And today we will start our new unit, Unit 3, that deal with atmosphere أو بتتعامل مع الغلاف الجوي. So today we will start lesson 1 of Unit 3, which deal with oxygen gas. But before we study oxygen gas, I must remind you, أفكركم with some information about what you have studied about atmosphere or atmospheric air. Now, let's start our lesson about atmosphere. We know that atmosphere or air is surrounded by a mixture of gases called atmosphere or atmospheric air. Again, air is surrounded by a mixture of gases called atmosphere or atmospheric air. الأرض محاطة بغلاف جوي بنسميه atmosphere أو atmospheric air. Another information, atmospheric air is attracted to the earth by gravity or by weight, as we have studied in Unit 1 about mass and weight. Again, atmospheric air is attracted to the earth by its weight or by the gravity. Again, it's a very important information. Atmospheric air is attracted to the earth by gravity. Another information, there are large quantities of solid objects in the atmosphere, such as dust, smoke, and gases. Again, there are large quantities of solid objects in the atmosphere, such as dust, التراب, smoke, الدخان, and other gases or harmful gases. And you know they are pollutants. احنا عارفين كويس قوي ان كل الدست والسموك والgases are pollutants, هي ملوثات. Again, there are large quantities of solid objects in the atmosphere, such as dust, smoke, and gases. Okay? Although there are pollutants, or although those particles are pollutants, they help in a very important process, which we have studied in primary 4, condensation of water vapor that causes rain or snow. So, although those particles of dust or smoke are pollutants, بالرغم ان هي ملوثات, they help in condensation of water vapor that causes rain or snow. بتساعد في عملية مهمة جدا، هي عملية condensation of water vapor أو تكثف بخار المية اللي بيسبب rain أو snow أو الأمطار والتلج. Again, although بالرغم من those particles are pollutants, they help in condensation of water vapor that causes rain or snow. Okay? Those particles are very dangerous, and in spite of that, بالرغم من كده, they are very helpful in a process called condensation of water vapor that causes rain or snow. Okay? So, now let's study the importance of the atmosphere to the Earth. Now let's study the importance of the atmosphere to the Earth's planet, or to the Earth's planet. Again, let's study the importance of atmosphere to the Earth. Okay? We have many importance of atmosphere. You can create up of your own mind importance of atmosphere. ممكن جدا نألف أو نبتكر importance مش موجودة عندنا في الكتاب، لكن هي برضو importance of the atmosphere. For example, we can say atmosphere is important for respiration process, because atmosphere contains, as we know, oxygen gas. Again, atmosphere is important for respiration process, because, as we know, atmosphere contains oxygen gas. Also, we can say atmosphere is very important for plants' life, because it contains oxygen gas also for respiration, and also animals' life. So we can summarize the first importance of atmosphere is that atmosphere is very important for respiration for all living organisms, because atmosphere contains oxygen gas that is important for respiration. Another importance of atmosphere is that atmosphere is very important, especially for plants in a photosynthesis process, Because atmosphere contains carbon dioxide gas, as we know. Carbon dioxide gas is very important gas, or is the main gas which is used in process of photosynthesis. Also, we can say atmosphere is very important because it adjusts the temperature of the Earth's surface. Again, atmosphere مهم جدا because it adjusts لأنه بيظبط the Earth's temperature حرارة الأرض أو درجة حرارة الأرض. Because as we know from our previous study in Unit 2, atmosphere or air is a bad conductor of heat because, or so that atmosphere cannot absorb large quantities of heat from the sun, so we cannot feel the great heatness or the great heat of the sun or the great radiation or the great temperature of the sun. So atmosphere adjusts the temperature of the Earth's surface. Another important of the atmosphere is that atmosphere protects us from a very harmful radiation which is called ultraviolet radiation. اسم جديد أول مرة نسمعه تاني اسمه ultraviolet radiation أو الأشعة الفوق-بنفسجية. What happened when these rays or this radiation come to the Earth? Let me explain what happened when this radiation or this harmful radiation come to the Earth's surface. Okay, imagine that I have the sun here. Okay, I have the sun, and this is the Earth here. Okay, we know the sun give us light every day. Okay, light can pass to the Earth, and this is very important radiation from the sun. But there are another radiation from the sun which is called ultraviolet radiation. This radiation is very, very harmful. If this radiation comes to the Earth, it will cause many diseases. لو الراديشن دي وصلت الأرض هتسبب أمراض كتيرة جدا وخطيرة جدا. So what happened? God created the Earth and protected the Earth by the presence of a layer which is called ozone layer. So again, there is a layer in the atmosphere, في طبقة في الهواء بنسميها ozone layer, which absorbs the ultraviolet radiation from coming to the Earth. Again, في طبقة مهمة جدا في الهواء أو في الغلاف الجوي بنسميها ultraviolet radiation that protects the Earth from ultraviolet radiation. Again, في طبقة مهمة جدا في الغلاف الجوي بنسميها ozone layer بتحمينا من ultraviolet radiation. Again, sorry, I have a mistake or I made a mistake. Again, the ozone layer, طبقة الأوزون, which is found in the atmosphere, protects the Earth from the harmful ultraviolet radiation that come out from the sun. So now, let's summarize what we have studied about the importance of the atmosphere. نلخص مع بعض what we have studied about the importance of atmosphere. Number one, as we know, or as we see now, it protects the Earth by absorbing ultraviolet radiation coming from the outer space or the outer space. Again, it protects the Earth by absorbing ultraviolet radiation coming from outer space. Again, it's a very importance of the atmosphere. هي أهمية مهمة جدا للأتموسفير إنجاز التعبير يعني. It protects the Earth by absorbing ultraviolet radiation coming from outer space. Okay. Another importance of atmosphere, it adjusts the temperature of the Earth's surface. It adjusts the temperature of the Earth's surface. هو بيظبط درجة حرارة الكرة الأرضية أو الغلاف الجوي للأرض كلها. Because as we know, atmosphere or air is a bad conductor of heat. Atmosphere, as we know, is a bad conductor of heat. Okay? So now, let's study a definition for the atmosphere. Can you make a definition from your own about the atmosphere? It's a very easy way. We can make a definition by saying that atmosphere is a mixture of gases surrounding the Earth. Again, أنا قلت أكتر مرة بنحب الطالب الكرياتيف اللي بيكتب definition from his own mind, من تفكيره هو أو من مخه هو أو من عقله هو. ممكن جدا أعمل definition خاص بي أنا not found in my science book. Okay? So again, atmosphere is what? It's a mixture of gases surrounding the Earth. It's a mixture of gases surrounding the Earth. هو خليط من غازات تحيط بالكرة الأرضية. Again, atmosphere is a mixture of gases surrounding the Earth. So now, what are those gases? Can you guess? هنقدر نفتكر ايه هي الجاسس اللي موجودة في الاتموسفير. Okay, we can say that atmosphere contains many gases. So again, the question says that what are the gases that form the atmosphere? What are the gases that form the atmosphere? Surely they will be that oxygen gas, the most important gas for respiration or for all living organisms' life. Again, oxygen. Nitrogen, the most abundant gas, أكبر غاز متوفر في الغلاف الجوي. Also, another gases like carbon dioxide and other gases such as water vapor, argon, neon, and helium. So we have many gases in the atmosphere, but each gas has a definite ratio or has a different ratio. في غازات كتير جدا في الاتموسفير، لكن كل غاز ليه نسبة مختلفة أو ليه نسبة محددة عن أي غاز تاني. For example, we know that oxygen gas contains or constitutes or occupies بيشغل 21% of air volume. But what about nitrogen gas? Nitrogen gas constitutes or occupies about 78% of the air volume. So we can say that nitrogen gas is the most abundant gas. Nitrogen gas هو أكبر غاز متوفر في الغلاف الجوي. Another gases such as carbon dioxide, helium, water vapor, argon, neon, krypton, xenon, radon, and so on, all of them are only 1%. كل دول 1% only, and we will study them in details. هدرس كل غاز بالتفصيل إن شاء الله in our next lessons about lesson 2 about carbon dioxide or lesson 3 about nitrogen gas. So now we will study oxygen gas, which occupies about 21% of air volume. بيشغل تقريبا 21% من حجم الهواء أو 1/5 or 1/5. So again, oxygen occupies about 21% of air volume or 1/5 without percent of air volume. Again, oxygen occupies about 21% or 1/5 أو خمس حجم الهواء or 1/5 or 1/5 of air volume. So now let's have an experiment to know how is the ratio of oxygen gas. هنعمل تجربة مهمة جدا وهنشوف لها short video after a while، فيديو قصير جدا بعد فترة قصيرة to know how we can measure the volume of oxygen. Imagine that how we can measure the volume of the oxygen gas. Okay, imagine that we have an experiment like a trough. هنجهز beaker حوض كبير, a candle and a cylinder like that, and also some water. Okay. Number one, burn the candle and fix it with its molten wax. يعني هلزق الشمعة بأجزاء من الشمع المنصهر منها, and pour carefully some water as found in shape 1. Okay, as found in shape 1, pour water carefully and invert a cylinder. هقلب عليها اسطوانة أو هحط اسطوانة بشكل مقلوب above the lighted candle. Okay, what happened? Surely we know that the candle will put off or put out. طبعا أكيد عارفين كويس قوي إن الكاندل هيحصل لها إنها تطفي. Okay, so what happened to the candle? It puts out. Why? Because it consumes all the oxygen gas. It consumes all the oxygen gas in the cylinder. هي استهلكت كل الأكسجين الموجود في السلندر هنا. So what happened to the air? اللي حصل للair inside cylinder? Surely you can say it decreases. هو قل. Again, when the candle لما الكاندل consumed استهلكت all the oxygen كل الأكسجين inside cylinder, the air inside cylinder is decreased or the air inside cylinder decreased. So what happened to water in the second shape? Water raises, water rise up. Why? Because it compensates the decrease in oxygen gas or the decrease in air. Again, هنا هيحصل إن الشمعة هتستهلك all the oxygen from the air in shape 1, and also water raises. Why? Because it compensates لأنها بتعوض the shortage or the decrease of air inside the shape 2. So now we have studied an experiment about what we have studied or about the volume of oxygen gas. We know that volume of oxygen gas is 1/5. And now we will see a short video about how can we calculate the volume of oxygen gas. Okay, let us see a short video about how we calculate the or the ratio or the percentage of oxygen gas. We said that oxygen gas is 1/5 or 21%. How we calculate oxygen gas? Let us see in this short video about the percentage or the ratio of oxygen gas. Okay, so now let's start. Okay, here I put the candle burning. Okay, I put the candle burning. Okay, and I invert a cylinder over it. What happened to the candle? Surely it will put off. Why? Because it consumed all the oxygen gas. لأنها استهلكت كل الأكسجين. So notice what happened to water. نلاحظ اللي يحصل للمية. Notice that the water level raises. Why the water level raises? Because the air inside the cylinder, الاير اللي جوه السلندر او جوه الاسطوانة decrease. So what happened to water? Water increases. Water increases to compensate the shortage of water. To compensate the shortage of water. Okay? So here you see that water raises. Why? Because it compensates لأنها بتعوض the shortage of air inside cylinder as or because the candle consumed all the oxygen inside the cylinder. So now how we can calculate the volume of oxygen gas? How we can calculate the volume of oxygen gas? Again by measuring the length of the increased water and by measuring the length of all the lengths of the cylinder and divide each one of them, we will have 1/5. يعني for example, again, I have a trough like this. نرسم مع بعض. Okay, and the candle is here. Okay, and I pour some water. Okay, and also I put what? I put a cylinder inverted above the candle. After a while, what happened to the candle? The candle put off. Candle, اتطفت, and the water level raises. The water level raises to what? If I measure this distance and I measure all the lengths of the cylinder, لو قسنا المسافتين دول, it will be 1/5 or it will be 21% approximately. So we can say that oxygen occupies بيشغل about 1/5 of air volume. So again, oxygen occupies about 1/5 of air volume, or oxygen occupies about 21% of air volume. 21% of air volume or 1/5 of air volume. So now we have studied that oxygen gas occupies about 1/5 of air volume, 1/5 of air volume, or 21% of air volume. Now I will ask you a very important question about this image or this picture. Why water increase in the cylinder? ليه الووتر ارتفعت في السلندر؟ Surely you can answer because, let me write this question, نكتبه مع بعض. Why water increase in cylinder? Why water, or give reason. Give reason, نكتب مع بعض. Water increased in the cylinder. Okay, I can write the answer shortly by because the candle consumed, الكاندل استهلكت all the oxygen inside the cylinder, and so that air volume decreased. أو حجم الهواء هيقل أو هينقص. So again, water increased in cylinder because candle consumed all the oxygen inside the cylinder, and so that air volume decreased in the cylinder. So now let's come back again, or let's return back again to the preparation of oxygen gas as we know, or as we see now, preparation of oxygen gas. So now let's have some information about oxygen gas. ناخد شوية معلومات عن oxygen gas. Okay? First information about oxygen gas is that oxygen gas exists in the atmosphere in a gaseous state. Surely it's a logic information. هي معلومة منطقية جدا. الأكسجين gas موجود في الغلاف الجوي على شكل الحالة الغازية as we have studied the gaseous state. Okay? You remember that, or you can remind me by that states of matter are solid or liquid or gas, or solid, liquid, or gas. So oxygen surely is a gas, or oxygen again exists in the atmosphere as in the gaseous state. Another information about oxygen gas. Oxygen gas is essential or necessary. Essential means necessary for all animals and the plants' life. Again, oxygen gas is essential for all animals and plants' life. هو ضروري جدا لحياة كل الكائنات الحية بما فيهم animals or plants or even if man. Okay, again, oxygen gas is essential for all animals and plants' life or even if man. Man هنا ما أقصدش بيها الراجل بس، لا أقصد بيها الإنسان. Man معناها الإنسان, but the man هي اللي معناها الرجل. Okay, oxygen gas is essential for all animals and the plants' life. Another information. Oxygen gas molecule. We have known that molecule معناها الجزيء. جزيء الأكسجين which means the smallest part of oxygen gas, consists of 2 atoms of oxygen gas. Again, oxygen gas molecule consists of 2 atoms of oxygen gas, and also we know that the symbol of oxygen from primary 4 is O2. So the symbol of oxygen is O2 أو رمز الأكسجين هو O2. Again, the oxygen gas molecule consists of 2 atoms of oxygen, so it has a symbol of O2. Another information, oxygen ratio is constant although it's consumed in respiration and burning processes. معلومة مهمة جدا عن الأكسجين. Why oxygen gas or oxygen gas ratio doesn't decrease in the atmosphere? Why it's always constant on 21% or 1/5 or 1/5 of the air volume? ليه oxygen gas ما بيخلصش؟ ليه نسبته ثابتة في الهواء؟ Because we know that it's compensated in a process of photosynthesis process، يعني بيتعوض بعملية اسمها عملية البناء الضوئي، but it's consumed، لكن بيستهلك في عمليتين مهمين جدا هما respiration and burning process. So here a give reason question point. هنا ده سؤال give reason مشهور جدا. We must take care. لازم ناخد بالنا منه كويس قوي. The question says that oxygen ratio is constant although it's consumed in respiration and burning process. على الرغم انه بيستهلك في عمليتين مهمين جدا هما عملية الريسبريشن وعملية البيرنينج. ليه هو نسبته ثابتة؟ ليه ما بيخلصش؟ Why oxygen gas ratio is constant? So we can say the answer because oxygen gas is compensated، هو بيتعوض مرة تانية in a process of photosynthesis process. So again, oxygen gas is compensated in a process of photosynthesis process that compensates the oxygen gas which is used or which is consumed in respiration or burning process. So we can say that because it's compensated in a photosynthesis process by green plants. Because it's compensated in a photosynthesis process by green plant. Again, because it's compensated إنه بيتعوض in a photosynthesis process by green plants. That's a very important give reason question. The question says again, oxygen ratio is constant، هي ثابتة although it's consumed in the respiration and burning processes. So the answer will be that because it's compensated in the photosynthesis process by green plants. Another information, green plants, we know that green plants are the main source of oxygen gas as it's produced during the photosynthesis process. Again, green plants are the main or the only source، هي المصدر الرئيسي والوحيد على الإطلاق that produce oxygen. There is no any plant or there is not any animal or any living organism that can produce oxygen. مفيش حد يقدر ينتج أكسجين except the plants or the green plants، إلا بس الجرين بلانت أو النبات الأخضر. So we must take care, we must keep the green plants as possible. Again, please take care. لازم كويس أوي ناخد بالنا من كل green plant. We must take care. We must increase the green areas. لازم نزود كويس أوي المساحات الخضراء because they help in photosynthesis process or they produce oxygen gas for respiration process. Okay? So again, the green plants are the main source of oxygen as it's produced during photosynthesis process. Another information about oxygen gas, in photosynthesis process, plants take what? We know plants take carbon dioxide from air, water, and the mineral salts from the soil, and what? And in the presence of photovoltaic. What's meant by photovoltaic? كلمة أول مرة نسمعها. Photovoltaic means sunlight or the energy of light or the light energy. To produce what? To produce oxygen gas عشان تنتج غاز الأكسجين and nutrients. So we can summarize what we have said that green plants take carbon dioxide from air, water and mineral salts from the soil, and also sunlight or in the presence of sunlight or photovoltaic to produce oxygen gas and nutrients. nutrients هنا معناها المواد الغذائية or the plant food itself أو جسم النبات نفسه which we eat it or we feed on the plant or we feed on it. Okay, so again the green plant is a very important living organism in our life because it produces oxygen gas in a very important process called photosynthesis process. So let's summarize this in a very simple drawing. نرسم مع بعض رسم مبسط جدا what happened during photosynthesis process. Okay, imagine that I have a tree like this. نرسم مع بعض. Okay, imagine that I have a tree. This tree takes what from soil? Takes water from soil and also mineral salts أملاح معدنية from the soil such as calcium, magnesium, potassium. and so on. Also, it take what from air? It take carbon dioxide from air, carbon dioxide from air, in the presence of what? In the presence of sunlight, okay, or photovoltaic as we said. يبقى كلمة photovoltaic مش غريبة علينا خلاص، عرفنا إن هي means sunlight. So again, I have here sunlight, and produce what? Produce, I think, the most, or I'm sure, the most important two things in our life. تنتج لنا تقريبا، أو أنا متأكد من ده تماما، هم أهم حاجتين في حياتنا. They are oxygen gas, and also nutrients, or we can write food. So the plant is a very important living organism in our life, because in a process of photosynthesis, they produce the most important two things in our life, which we respire, oxygen, which we feed the nutrients or the food itself. Okay, so the process of photosynthesis process is a very important process in our life, or is a very vital process. هي عملية حيوية جدا in our life that preserve the life continuity. هي بتحافظ على استمرار الحياة because it produces oxygen gas and take out or take in carbon dioxide or purify the air. ممكن أقول كمان إنها بتنقي الهواء from carbon dioxide which pollute the air, and we will study in details إن شاء الله بالتفاصيل. هندرس what happened to the ratio of carbon dioxide in the air, and what happened when it increases. It causes many problems such as suffocation and the global warming, and inshallah we will study it in details. Okay, so now let's move to a new point in our lesson today, and this point is, I think that it is the most important point today. هي أهم نقطة النهاردة. How can we prepare oxygen gas in the laboratory? إزاي نحضر أكسجين in the laboratory أو في المعمل. Again, how can we prepare oxygen gas in the laboratory? إزاي نحضر غاز الأكسجين في المعمل. Okay, now let's study how can we prepare oxygen gas in the lab. Okay, we know that we have a very important uses for oxygen gas. We can use oxygen gas for diving centers, for welding metal, for hostels. So oxygen gas which is found in cylinders, الأكسجين اللي بلاقيه في الصوانات, is very important for diving. مهم قوي للدايفنج، مهم قوي للwelding metal لحامل معادن، مهم جدا for hostels or for patients in the hostels for mechanical ventilation أو اللي بنسميه تنفس صناعي. So how can we prepare oxygen gas in the laboratory? We have a very important material, very important solution inside our lab, which is called oxygen water or hydrogen peroxide. في مادة مهمة قوي هنلاقيها في المعمل إن شاء الله، هنسميها hydrogen peroxide أو oxygen water. How can we prepare oxygen gas in the lab? Let me draw the preparation of oxygen gas in the lab. Okay, نرسم مع بعض how can we prepare, but note you needn't to draw the preparation of oxygen, but only you must have the labeling. انت مش مطلوب انك ترسم الاكسجين، لكن مطلوب مني اعمل labeling للرسم بس. Okay, so now imagine that I have a flask, and after a while we will see a short video about how to prepare oxygen. But before that, let me explain in details, or explain by drawing how can we prepare oxygen gas. Imagine that I have a flask like this by a stopper, and the stopper has two holes. From one hole I pass a funnel. Like that. يعني هنعدي من الهول الأول قمع. This funnel أو القمع دوت هيكون contains the most important material I said, which is hydrogen peroxide. بنسميها hydrogen peroxide أو مية الأكسجين. Hydrogen peroxide أو oxygen water. So it has two names. The commercial name is hydrogen peroxide, but the scientific name is hydrogen peroxide. I'm so sorry, but the commercial name is oxygen water. Again, oxygen water or hydrogen peroxide. Oxygen water or hydrogen peroxide. So here I put the solution of hydrogen peroxide here, and it will come to the bottom of the flask, and it will decompose. هيحصل له عملية تحلل. To what? To water and oxygen. Its name what? Is hydrogen peroxide or oxygen water. هي اسمها oxygen water. يبقى هيتحلل لإيه؟ لoxygen and water. Water stays here at the bottom of the flask, and oxygen gas bubbles come up. And I prepare, or I collect this oxygen gas by a tube like this. Okay, this tube comes to what? Comes to a beaker or a trough, حوض كبير, that contain water. With this beaker there is an inverted cylinder. Why inverted cylinder containing water? because after a while we will see that oxygen gas bubbles will come up in the cylinder that makes what to water. هتعمل ايه في الميه؟ هتعمل downward displacement. يبقى من تاني ايه اللي حصل؟ hydrogen peroxide comes here and decomposes into what? Into water and oxygen. Oxygen passes from this tube to this cylinder or this test tube or this inverted test tube الأنبوبة مقلوبة. And what happened to water؟ هنعرف بعد شوية إن الأكسجين doesn't like water at all. Oxygen is scarcely dissolved in water. نادرا بيدوب في الماء، مش بيحب المية خالص. So what happened? It will go up and water will fall down, or I can say oxygen make downward displacement for water. So I can make or I can write here oxygen. يبقى عمل ايه الاكسجين في الميه؟ عمل لها عمليه اسمها downward displacement. Here is water. هنلاقي الووتر بعد شويه بيحصل لها عمليه downward displacement of water او بيسموها ازاحه سفليه للميه. ازاحه سفليه للميه. Why? Because oxygen is scarcely dissolved in water. Because oxygen scarcely dissolved in water لانه نادرا ما بيدوب في الميه، يعني مش بيحب الميه. So how can we collect oxygen gas? How can we collect oxygen gas? By downward displacement of water. بإزاحة سفلية للمياه. So now, how can we prepare oxygen gas as I draw or as I have drawn now by decomposition of hydrogen peroxide? But we must take care. We must use another substance. هستخدم مادة تانية مهمة جدا اسمها manganese dioxide powder. Again, manganese dioxide powder acts as a catalyst. دورها ايه في التفاعل دوت؟ هي مجرد دور بسيط جدا بنسميه ومهم جدا في نفس الوقت بنسميه catalyst أو عامل حفاز. So here I put some powders in the flask. Okay. This material is a black colored material. هي مادة لونها أسود بنسميها manganese. manganese ناخد بالنا كويس أوي من الاسم. manganese dioxide powder. manganese dioxide powder. This manganese dioxide powder or this material acts as a catalyst. هي بتمثل دور الكاتاليست أو العامل الحفاز because it helps in the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide or oxygen water to oxygen and water without being changed. بدون ما تتغير خالص. هي بتخش تفاعل، تدخل التفاعل، تخرج منه زي ما دخلت بالظبط. Again, the catalyst أو manganese dioxide powder acts as a catalyst or a helping material for increasing the rate of the reaction. هي بتزود معدل التفاعل فقط لكن ما بتعملش أي حاجة في نتيجة التفاعل نفسه. So again, it helps it increases the speed of the reaction only it doesn't take part in the reaction itself. هي ما بتشاركش التفاعل نفسه لكن بتزود سرعة التفاعل. So now let's see a short video. How can we prepare oxygen gas in the lab? Now let's start. We have a short video about how can we prepare oxygen gas in the lab. I said that we have a flask like this. هنشوف حالا. Okay. I said that I have a flask like this. Okay, you see, and a funnel like the upper funnel, and this funnel contains what? Contains hydrogen peroxide. بيحتوي على مادة مهمة قوي اسمها hydrogen peroxide أو oxygen water. This oxygen water can decompose into oxygen and water. من اسمها هي اسمها oxygen water أو مية أكسجين، يبقى بتتحلل لأكسجين ومية. Okay. So again, if I open the tab, the reaction happens and oxygen gas bubble come to water and make what to water؟ هتعمل ايه في المية؟ As I said, it makes downward displacement of water. Again, it makes downward displacement of water. بتعمل إزاحة سفلية للمية. Why? Because oxygen is scarcely dissolving in water. Because oxygen لأن الأكسجين نادرا ما بيدوب في المية. So oxygen cannot combine with water or cannot dissolve in water directly. So it's a very pleasing thing from our God. أنا بعتبر ده نعمة من نعم ربنا على الإنسان. Because oxygen is scarcely dissolved in water. If oxygen dissolved in water easily, we cannot find oxygen. We know that all or above 3/4 of the surface of the earth is water. So if oxygen dissolved in water, it will disappear. لو هو بيدوب فعلا في المية كان اختفى and we will not find oxygen and we cannot respire. So it will lead to death. هيؤدي للوفاة أو موت معظم البشر أو كل البشر تقريبا. So we can say we can collect oxygen gas by downward displacement of water. Why? Because oxygen is scarcely dissolved in water. لأن الأكسجين نادرا ما بيدوب في المية. مش بيحب الميه قوي او مش بيتحد مع الميه بسهوله جدا. So it cannot combine or cannot dissolve in water directly. So again, we prepared oxygen gas. We prepared oxygen gas in the lab by what? By decomposition of of hydrogen peroxide or decomposition of oxygen water to what? To oxygen and water in the presence of في وجود مادة مهمة جدا سميناها catalyst أو عامل حفاز. And this catalyst is named manganese dioxide powder that increased the speed of the reaction and doesn't enter the reaction itself or doesn't take part in the reaction itself. So now let's see again the short video about how to prepare oxygen gas. نشوف من تاني how to prepare oxygen gas in the lab. Okay, here I have the flask. Okay, I open the tap. Why? To make the hydrogen peroxide pass on manganese dioxide powder. Here the oxygen makes what to water? It makes downward displacement of water. بيعمل إزاحة سفلية للمية. Makes downward displacement of water. And after a while, I will find that water comes down and leave oxygen gas. Water comes down and leave oxygen gas. So if I close the cylinder or this flask, I will have oxygen gas in this flask. So here in this flask, I have oxygen gas by decomposition of oxygen water or by decomposition of hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen, and also I said that manganese dioxide powder is a very important material in this reaction. Why? Because we know this material in this reaction or in the reaction of the preparation of oxygen gas makes a catalyst. هي بتقوم بدور مهم جدا بنسميه catalyst أو عامل حفاز. So now let's see let's complete our lesson about oxygen gas after we have prepared oxygen gas in the lab, and I am sure this experiment is very interesting and you can do it in your lab with your teacher, with your effort teacher, with your excellent teacher. I'm sure that all teachers of science in Egypt here are excellent teachers and do their best to pass their information to you, to my dearest pupils of 6th grade primary school, and also they will show you how to prepare oxygen gas in the lab. I'm sure that it's a very interesting experiment. You can do it in the lab. So now, how can we prepare oxygen gas in the lab? As I said, let's summarize what we have said. We can prepare oxygen gas in the lab by decomposition of hydrogen peroxide in the presence of manganese dioxide powder as a catalyst to produce what? To produce oxygen gas in the flask, and also we have water in the first flask or in the first bottle or in the first container of this reaction. Okay, so let's make a very important equation. هنعمل معادلة يمكن أول مرة في حياتنا نتعرض لحاجة زي كده. A very important equation for how to prepare oxygen gas. Here I have hydrogen peroxide or oxygen water. هنسميها اسمين، في اسم تجاري واسم علمي. الاسم العلمي هنسميه hydrogen peroxide أو فوق أكسيد الهيدروجين أو مية الأكسجين يعني. And here on the arrow, the manganese dioxide powder that acts as a catalyst. So the production or the products are water and oxygen. So again, we can prepare ممكن نحضر oxygen gas from the lab by decomposition تحلل of hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen in the presence of manganese dioxide powder. Also, this is a very important image for the preparation of oxygen gas, and also I said you needn't to draw the image, but you can try. ممكن نحاول نرسمها, but you aren't asked to do that, but you are asked only to make labels. يعني مطلوب مني في الامتحان أعمل labeling بس. Okay, here I have the hydrogen peroxide solution or oxygen water, and at the bottom of this flask there is a manganese dioxide powder, the catalyst أو العامل الحفاز, and also here I have a funnel or a tap. Here I have a water basin or water trough or water container. Here I have inverted glass tube, and here at the top of this glass tube there is oxygen gas bubble that make what to water? Yes, I hear you. Make downward displacement of water. عملت ايه في المية؟ عملت حاجة اسمها downward displacement أو إزاحة سفلية للمية. So the image of oxygen gas is always available at exams or is always repeated at exams, so you must take care of the labeling of the oxygen gas preparation at your exam. So now let's have a very important notabile, ملاحظة مهمة جدا. Manganese dioxide powder remains without change in its quantity and the properties So it works as what? As a catalyst. So again, manganese dioxide powder remains without change. بيبقى بلا تغيير in its quantity and the properties. So it works as a catalyst. بيعمل كأنه catalyst أو عامل حفاز. Okay? So now we can say oxygen gas is collected. Oxygen gas is collected by downward displacement of water as oxygen replaces water in the cylinder as or because oxygen scarcely dissolves in water. Oxygen again scarcely dissolves in water أو زي ما قلنا الأكسجين نادرا ما بيدوب في المية أو مش بيحب المية. بصراحة كده علاقة الاتنين ببعض علاقة مش كويسة. يعني الاتنين مش بيحبوا بعض قوي وده قلنا من نعم ربنا على البشرية because oxygen if oxygen dissolves in water it will disappear. هيختفي فورا طبعا. Okay? So let's make a definition for the catalyst. Okay? So now let's make a definition for the catalyst. عايز أعمل تعريف الكاتاليست أو العامل الحفاز. I can say catalyst is a chemical substance that remains without a change in its quantity and the properties during the chemical reaction. Again, it's a chemical substance that remains without a change in its quantity and the properties during the chemical reaction. هو مادة كيميائية تبقى بلا تغيير في كميتها وخواصها أثناء التفاعل الكيميائي. As what? As we have studied the first catalyst in our life. أول catalyst في حياتنا ندرسه النهاردة هو manganese dioxide powder that remains without change. بيبقى بلا تغيير. If you put 10 gram for example in the reaction, they will end at the end of the reaction by 10 gram. If the catalyst is black, they will end at black color. يعني لو حطيت الكاتاليست لونه black هيفضل برضه black. So the catalyst doesn't change, or I can say that catalyst is a chemical substance that remains without a change in its quantity and the property in the chemical reaction. Again, the catalyst is a chemical substance that remains without a change in its properties and quantity during the chemical reaction. So, historical hint about oxygen gas. لمحة تاريخية. We know that oxygen gas was discovered in China in 800 before Christ. اكتشف في الصين لأول مرة سنة 800 قبل الميلاد. Again, oxygen gas was discovered in China in 800 before Christ أو سنة 800 قبل الميلاد. Okay? Joseph Priestley is a great scientist, rediscovered oxygen gas in August 1774. هو أول عالم اكتشف الأكسجين بعد الصينيين طبعا. هو جوزيف بريسلي in 1774. But what is the or who is the scientist? مين هو العالم اللي سماه فعلا oxygen gas? Because oxygen gas was named what? كان اسمه في البداية life gas أو غاز الحياة. So oxygen gas was named by this name by the great scientist or the great French scientist عالم فرنساوي اسمه أنطوان لافوازير or Antoine Lavoisier. هو اللي سماه oxygen gas. Again, Antoine Lavoisier gave it its name, the oxygen gas, in 1778. So up to now we have studied, I will not say all things about oxygen because in the next episode إن شاء الله الحلقة الجاية we will study the properties of oxygen. هندرس بالتفاصيل إن شاء الله خواص الأكسجين. So up to now we have studied the atmosphere. We have studied the importance of atmosphere. We have studied also the preparation of oxygen. We have studied many information about oxygen gas, the importance of oxygen gas for life. We know that this gas is the only gas we respire. Not only the people, not only the man, but all animals, plants, life, all the living organisms need oxygen gas for respiration. So up to now we have studied many things. I will not say all things. مش كل حاجة عن الأكسجين إن شاء الله. لسه في حلقة تانية about oxygen gas, about the properties of oxygen gas, about the uses of oxygen gas, about the importance of oxygen gas. Okay, we have studied many things, as I said, about oxygen gas, the preparation. Also, I remind you, in preparation of oxygen gas, we must take care. We prepare oxygen from what? We prepare oxygen from decomposition, تحلل, a very important material which is named oxygen water or hydrogen peroxide. And this material, when it decomposes, it gives us water and oxygen in the presence of وجود مادة مهمة جدا سميناها catalyst أو عامل حفاز. This catalyst or this material is named what? Is named manganese dioxide powder. Manganese dioxide powder, and it's a black powder, and it remained without a change. بيبقى بلا تغيير. After the reaction, from the before the reaction, it doesn't change in its quantity and its property. So we can make a definition for catalyst. we make a definition for the catalyst. It's a chemical substance that remain without a change, in its properties and quantities, or in its quantity and its properties after the reaction, because it acts as a catalyst. Okay, so up till now we have studied, as I said, many information about oxygen gas, So now I will ask you a very important give reason question. Okay, give reason question. I will write this question because it's a very important. Don't forget this question. Give reason question. We use, نكتب مع بعض, we use manganese. Okay, we use manganese dioxide. We use manganese dioxide powder during preparation of oxygen gas. Okay, surely we use this material because it acts as a catalyst, or to help in decomposition of oxygen gas, عشان نساعد في عملية decomposition of oxygen water material, or in brief to act as a catalyst. Okay. So now we have finished our lesson today about the preparation of oxygen gas, the importance of atmosphere, and also inshallah we will complete our properties of oxygen gas inshallah next episode. Thank you very much. See you soon and goodbye.